Hello, good evening. Welcome to the couch. My name is Pratt. I like to start by apologizing for the late start of tonight's show, but I promise you that this week is absolutely worth it. The book we are reviewing this evening, this one is Not This Widow. Not This Widow, by Dilys Silla. Look at it. This is the book that we are reviewing this evening. Now, what I need you to do is to grab yourself a bottle of water. You know, if you can, get yourself your Spark Sobolo. Relax in your couch, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to be introducing the list, and we are going to dive straight into the story. Stay with us, to be right back.
Whatever the occasion, with ATL, you can never be out of style. ATL, bringing fabric to life.
Every day, he has a drink filled with malt. Every day, he has a drink filled with malt and milk. Every day, he has a drink filled with malt, milk, and cocoa. Every day, he needs the nutritious goodness of Milo. Milo, the energy to go further. This advert is FDA approved. Every day, he looks after his brother and chases a bus. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, and learns new things. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, learns new things, and gets back home. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, learns new things, gets back home, and helps his mom. Phew. That's why every day he needs his cup of Milo filled with the nutritious goodness of malt, milk, and cocoa. Milo, the energy to go further.
From Nestle.
This advert is FDA approved.
Access to quality healthcare does not have to be a chore. At Hag Hospital and Fertility Center, we provide quality and comprehensive health checks for general and special health conditions. We are open each day for consultation on general health conditions. Our trusted physicians are available to provide patient-centered care in these specialized areas. Specialized family physician, fertility and gynecological consultations, pediatric services, dental services, and physiotherapy. We also operate a 24-hour COVID testing center, open to the general public with on-demand home care services. For your surgical services, Hag Hospital and Fertility Center has an ultra-modern equipped theater with seasoned surgeons to attend to your needs. Locate us at Izora Roundabout, West Tresaco, and Cedar Medical Plaza off the Graphic Road, opposite MTN office. Telephone 0248-299-930. Hag Hospital, your health our priority.
Welcome back from the break. If you are just joining in, this is the book Not This Widow. You know, this is the book we are reviewing. Let me quickly introduce you to my guests. I like to do a bit of reading so you know exactly who we have in the studio this evening. Now, Dilys is an accredited and qualified transformational life coach specializing in grief, emotional independence, marriage and relationship coaching. She also offers spirit-led Christian coaching and is a minister at New Glory Chapel in London. Dilys is a former radio show host, of her own show on Speak with Dilys Breakfast Show in London and the Speak with Dilys Facebook show, which has been going for over a year and addresses hard-hitting topics that are rarely spoken about but delivered with wisdom, tact, and sensitivity whilst being engaging, always with hundreds of comments from great participation from her audience. She is a TEDx and international speaker, founder of the former charity Who Will Hear My Cry, UK and Ghana, that raised awareness on rape, child abuse, and domestic violence. She is a keen women and children's advocate and author of the best-selling book, Not This Widow, A Journey of Grief, Love, Loss, Strength, and Survival. Delis is also the author of Predator or Prince, How to Find the Man of Your Dreams, Not Your Nightmares, educating women on how to spot red flags in men who may be emotionally or physically abusive. Delis is an excellent speaker and brings class, knowledge, humor, and impactful, life-changing conversations on many topics drawn from her vast experience as a coach, ranging from mental health to women's issues, trauma, colorism, and many more, all drawn from her professional knowledge and experiences of life challenges and victory. So Delis is Delis. Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good, yourself?
Good, I'm well, thank you.
You look good as always.
Thank you, you look fantastic too, thank you.
I mean, I tried, I knew you were coming, so, I had to.
You look great.
Delis,
Yeah.
this book, it's engaging. Once you start reading, you can't put it down. But you're writing about yourself.
Indeed I am.
Okay, so I have like 1,000 questions.
Go for it.
So let me, you set out to literally bear everything out to everybody. That's not easy to do.
You mean that's not very Ghanaian?
Well, that's
You mean that's not very Ghanaian, yeah.
and also easier. I can't imagine telling people, about myself in this. People need to read this book to understand what I mean. Like, you're sharing perhaps, I don't know, correct me, perhaps one of the worst experiences or the most traumatic experiences that you've ever had.
Absolutely.
In detail.
Yeah.
Why?
Because the experience that I had from losing my late husband and what I was subjected to, I couldn't believe that I wasn't unique and special, i.e. the treatment that I was being subjected to was common amongst African women. And it made no difference of the fact that I lived in England. I wasn't in some village in Ghana. Being, abroad made no difference. It's like they say, you can take the girl out of the village, but you can't take the village out of the girl. And I think why I wrote I wrote the book because I felt that somebody should have said something sooner to prepare some of us for the inevitable. Because if we are going to maltreat women just because they've lost a husband, then someone who has lost a husband should say something to give us the heads up so that we're aware of what, lies ahead. But no one did. So for me, I did it because I felt that it was necessary, that what I was going through, that I could help prevent someone else from going through.
That's amazing. There's a second book like this I've encountered, and the first was written by a former second lady, Madame Mrs. Arthur, Matilda Emisa Arthur. But I've reviewed that book with her,
sure,
right? And I can see that there's a world of difference in the two books. The themes are the same. In the both of you are sharing your experiences, from grief, but you are more detailed, and you take us way back to the beginning. Sort of tell us how you met, how you got married, life with him. You talk us through the whole sickness, the issues with the insurance company, the difficulties with the hospitals, all of that. You lead us all the way up until the point. And even, how do I say, the struggles with the health issues. Like, there was times when he was okay. Yeah. He even came home. Yeah. And then, So this is very detailed. Delis, I can't get over that. I'm so Ghanaian, am I? I've heard authors say they write, read over it, and ask themselves if they are ready to bear it all out like that. Have you had that experience at any point?
No.
Not at all?
No. I'm a very deliberate person.
Right.
If I'm doing something, I'm very aware from the outset why I'm doing it.
Right.
And I make no apologies for it.
Right.
And I own it. So, like, I always say to people that, you know, I'm never going to be the kind of person that said, oh, I was so angry, that's why I did what is lies. If I did it, I did it, and I wanted to do it. Not because I was angry, because I was drunk, because, you know, the excuses that people use. If I've done it, I own it. And I was very much aware of why I was writing this book. I didn't just write it because I was bored. It was a very, very, very difficult book to write. Now, that book was written within 3 months, 6 months after my late husband passed away. So it was still very raw.
Right.
And I was motivated by the fact that I wanted the book published on the anniversary of his passing as a gift to him. Because I felt that if, you know, I was going to do this and, you know, help other women, and it wasn't, the book is not just about widowhood, it's about grief generally. How do we deal with grief?
Right.
How do we treat people who are grieving? And how do we navigate that journey ourselves? Because the one thing that I found was that, you know, how you grieve is as unique as your DNA. But unfortunately, being African, you've got culture telling you how you're supposed to grieve. You've got religion telling you how you're supposed to grieve. You've got society telling you how you wanted to grieve. But I was determined to grieve my way and not succumb to anyone.
I wanted to find, you know, because I read that portion, it just hit home. You talk about how it feels as if there's the grieving police, sort of, and these are my words, not yours, but you put it even more eloquently than I could ever, you know, and I'm trying to find the exact words, so I read it out, so the viewers can appreciate, you know, exactly how you put that. And you say that it didn't feel almost natural to you. You wanted to grieve, and yet here you were, being told how to wear black.
Absolutely, I hated that.
Oh, dear.
I hated that. And you see, the thing is, culture and tradition, they are man-made. If we can make it, we can unmake it. And I'd have been damned if I was going to let anybody tell me what to do. Wearing black, for me, was soul-destroying. Because after my late husband passed away, you know, we have this 7-day thing. So though he passed away on the Monday, because it was, you know, the Saturday, obviously being in England, it was more convenient to do it that day. And that's when I got the black kaftan thing.
You talk about your sister taking it out of the, you know, and you just...
That was when reality really hit home for me. So this thing is real. Now imagine the trauma of that. And every 5 minutes, you've got, you know, people saying to you, you've got to wear black for a whole year. For 1 whole year, because of culture and tradition, even when you wake up in the morning, and I had mornings where I would wake up and forget what had happened to me, forget in quote, and I'd be quite all right. Then I reminded, don't forget you're a widow, got to put on that black dress, and your whole mood just descends into the pit once again. After 4 months, I was like, enough, I'm not doing it anymore. Stop wearing it. I stopped wearing it. On the day of the funeral, I remember I bought this huge, well, I didn't buy the hat on the day of the funeral, but I wore this huge hat.
This
which
one,
is
you
the
mean?
cover, yeah.
This one.
That one.
This one.
And you couldn't see my face. I had these huge Versace glasses on. You couldn't see my face. And I resented being the center of attention for that reason of being widowed. And as much as I appreciated the support, the pity was overwhelming. And I almost felt ashamed that I'd been widowed. It's a very weird emotion, but I felt ashamed. I felt naked, like I was now this easy target that anybody could come and take a piece out of. So when you have all these things going through your mind, and you lose your sense of self because you're no longer Dilys, you're just the widow. You lose your name even. You're not even called by your name. Oh, the woman that lost her husband. I resented that.
Right.
Because I was never one of those married women, and we have loads of them in Ghana. And Mrs. whatever, or what really kills me, is when they write their name and they put in brackets, Mrs., like it's some achievement in life. You got married, get over it. So thankfully, I was never part of that clique. So I didn't see why afterwards I should lose my identity that I never lost when I was married, you know. But it was this whole thing of, you must do X, Y, and Z. No one asks. No one asks you how you feel or what you would like. Look at our culture. You have the 7-day sit-down thing. You've got somebody that will sit in your house. And even if it's 200 people that pass through your home, you're having to hear every single. Do you know how torturous that is? It's absolutely awful. And I just thought, enough of all this nonsense.
And I like the way you put it in the book, you know, because then once you read it that way, then it brings it home to you. Because, and these are very real things. You talk about what, you know, this supposed linguist or so in the house would ask the person who comes into the house. And you speak about how the response is almost always the same thing.
Yeah.
And they would respond that way.
Yeah.
And he would go ahead to narrate the whole
trauma of why we were sat there in the first place. I mean, does it even make sense? But we are so entrenched in our culture that we forget the person. We become so inhumane in that process of maintaining things that were man-made that we don't consider the effect on the human beings that are directly involved. Do you know what it was like that every you know, person that knocked on the door, then they will recount, then they go through this whole thing, and you're sat there, and don't forget, as a widow, you're not allowed to speak, so you can't respond. You know, there was one time I actually was hyperventilating. They had to take me upstairs. I thought, I cannot do this. I cannot do this. And then I remember saying to my sister, can you just ask everybody, just get out the house?
Let me ask you a question. And, you know, there have been times when people have lost loved ones, people that are close enough to me, and I've shied away, you know, because I don't know what to say.
Sure.
You know, I remember saying to one of my cousins that, I'm sorry I haven't called you, but it's because I simply do not know what to say to you. And this is perhaps because of paying attention to people in grief sometimes. And I had one of my friends say to me that sometimes the things that I said sort of to console us are actually annoying.
Oh my God, they're more than annoying. Like it is well. Jesus, Lord have mercy. I banned everyone. I think I even did a Facebook Live about it. What is well? And the most annoying thing is, it got to a point where I would ask people, what is well about a woman being widowed at 47 with 2 children? Explain.
What should we do? What should we say? What's best practice?
You know what it is? There is nothing that anybody could ever say to make it better. So let's just take that off the table.
Right.
But the grieving person isn't expecting anybody to say anything other than, how can I be there for you?
Right.
What do you need? The most disempowering thing that I found was being treated like I had not just lost a husband, but lost my mind.
Right.
You don't get spoken to like a normal person. You get spoken at, not spoken to. People make assumptions about what you need because you're widowed, so therefore you can't think anymore. You know, you've lost your marbles. But actually, no, being, you know, spoken over, like you're sat there, and I'm like, I'm not bloody deaf. I can hear and speak, but you're so invisible. So we're not expecting you to come with these words of wisdom because they're really hollow.
Right.
Or people say, oh, they're in a better place. So I ask somebody, have you been there? Have you been there? What do you mean? Don't tell me foolishness. What better place for a man than to be with his family? So don't give me that religious nonsense because you will annoy me. You know, it's not helpful.
Right.
Just say to me, Dilys, I can't imagine what you're going through,
right,
or what I was going through. But if there's anything I can do, let me know. That's all. It's not that complicated, you know.
No, it's not really. Thank you for that, and I'll keep it here and here, you know, so I don't go act the fool. And you're so right about what you say, because all of us sort of live by these conventions, and so the way that we express grief towards the grieving person is even informed by convention. You've been taught that you say it as well.
Yes.
So, right? Yeah. So you go there saying it as well. It's not even your own words. You don't.
But I challenge people. I ask people, explain to me. And a few people said, to be honest, I just say it because everyone says it. I said, you know what? And that's what hurts. The fact that it's meaningless and it's being said at a time that's the most painful, the most soul-destroying time of anyone's life, when they're experiencing a colossal loss. And you come with words that you don't even understand? I think it's a damn cheek.
Right.
It's offensive.
Right. Now, let's talk about, you know, and here, forgive me, but closure. And I'm asking this question because of the ring.
Okay.
Remember when you thought you had lost his ring?
Yes.
And you spent some while, you know, looking for the ring with your son. Your son finally found the ring. Yes. And it took me straight to another book that I had read. This was fiction, not, you know, and this, not even African. You know, it was one of a collection of short stories that I'd read some time ago. And the woman speaks about losing her husband. And she speaks about the whole time just looking for closure some way, somehow. And how a phone call in the middle of the night had been it for her, even though she knew that it wasn't, it had been a mistaken call, sort of. Somebody was calling, somebody else had called her, you know, but somehow she had fit that conversation into, you know, a narrative that worked for her, and she was okay with that closure. Surprising, that's the saddest part of the book for me. The part where your son finds the book and he's, you know, the ring, and he's running to you to tell you that I found the ring, and he's so excited, and you appreciate his support, you know, all of that. But is closure a thing for you? Was it a thing for you? Is it still a thing for you? And I mean,
I think closure, I've never looked at it in that way. And I think for me, the word closure might not work for me personally, because I think closure means it's finished, it's packed away, you don't revisit.
right.
Whereas I don't believe that grief works like that.
Speak about that.
Yeah. I think that grief is it's a journey.
Right.
And you get to a place where, hopefully, you can sit down and say, okay, I'm resting and I'm okay now. And I'm happy with the progress that I've made. As opposed to when people say, oh, you've got to move on. Well, you don't move on, you move forward. I like to call it moving forward.
Right.
That you are able to put one foot in front of the other. And in time, you pick up pace because you're going on that healing journey. But I think for me, if we're talking closure, it would be the point at which I decided very consciously that I was tired of being sad. It was too draining. It was too emotionally, spiritually, and mentally taxing for me, that I decided that I'm still here. I didn't die. And I felt that it was necessary to make that decision, that I could fulfill my own destiny. Because the issue with death is this: when people die, we assume, because we're human beings, that as wrong as it is, that's all there is to it.
Right.
When in life there's a greater plan that we aren't always privy to. In fact, we're never privy to. The story unfolds as we stay in motion.
Right.
The only time that revelation doesn't come is when you sit still and decide that this is my lot, and therefore there's no need to go forward and go on. But at the point at which you understand the why, for me, you know, I don't do this religious nonsense. Oh, you can't ask God. I asked for 9 months. And I said, Lord, after looking after this man for nearly 4 years, why? Why now? why? And I mean, it's very personal, but I got the answer to my why. Therefore, I was able to pack certain things away and make the decision to live, because I realized in his death was my life.
Right.
This book isn't a mistake.
Right.
And that's why I had it released on the anniversary of his passing as a thank you. For me to be in this space, it cost someone their life.
Right.
And I have to honor that life by taking on that baton and running with it.
Right.
Because the women that I've spoken to have lost their husbands. The
Yeah, we
stories
speak about other women as
Yes.
well. We share other women's experiences, you know, towards the end.
Yes.
You know, oh, I want the names.
There's Afi.
There's-
It's Afi's story that
Right.
I think...
Afi?
Yes. Sorry, Afi. I call it Afi. That
dear.
really did hit home. for me,
Right,
you know.
right.
And
Right.
yeah, it was just deciding that, you know what, there is more to this. And sometimes, and I always say this, that you go through certain life experiences not for your benefit. God knows that you can do it and that you're strong enough, but because of others who are going to go through it and need to look at you and see what is possible.
Right.
Because women would look at me and wouldn't think that I've gone through what I've been through, because I don't look like what I've been through. And I've been able, by the grace of God, to cultivate this new life that I refuse to feel guilty for. Because again, coming back to culture, it's like, that's why you're accused of killing your husband.
It should define you.
It absolutely should define you.
You have to act a certain way.
And people are looking at you
Right.
to see how many tears you shed,
Right.
to see how miserable you look. To me, I think it's quite twisted. I think it's very, 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 very sick. And it's a form of, you know, I don't know. It's just horrible. Why would you need to... Some people are private, like myself. I didn't want the whole world seeing me broken. Those are my private moments. Not even my kids will I share that with, to a certain degree. It's not that I don't cry in front of them, but the point at which I may be that crumpled heap on the floor, that's not your business. I don't need you to approve my grief journey. That, oh, so she lost her husband and she's blah, blah, blah. That's not your business. When you lose your husband or when you lose your wife, then come talk to me. But until you've had that experience, you have absolutely no right to sit in judgment. So Afi, in the book, where she said, well, actually, you know, I spoke with her and
Right.
I was sharing with her the fact that of something about what I wore on the day of the funeral. I said, oh, if you were in Ghana, you couldn't have done that. And I'm like, says who? He said, oh no, they wouldn't have allowed you to be wearing dark glasses. Hey, the way people would have talked. I was like, I couldn't give a damn. In that moment, I was exceptionally selfish because what I was going through, no one was bearing that burden with me. Right. It was all heaped on my head. Like,
Does it help? Does it help to grieve your way? You know, live your truth. Does it help?
It does help.
Right. Explain
because
that,
it helps because, like, for example, I was talking about the fact that I stopped wearing black for months. Only I know what it feels like to have some kind of normalcy rarely on one rare morning that I feel quite normal, only to be reminded because of some stupid culture, and if I offend anyone, good, change it, I'm forced to be put into that place of depression. No one knows what it feels like.
Right.
I've got kids to take care of. There is a certain level of mental and emotional torture that you go through. I cannot, there aren't enough words in the English dictionary that I could use to describe what it feels like.
Right.
So why on earth am I being forced to go through that just because that is what we do? You and who? You do it then. But for me,
in Mrs. Mensah's book, she speaks about how perhaps if all of these rules were explained, it would make some sort of sense. because over time she's taking the trouble to find out the reason behind some of these rules. You know, the don't leave the house. So after a couple of months, she explains that apparently the wisdom behind that is so that if you were pregnant before your husband died, nobody could ever ask if it's actually his or not.
Even that's nonsense as far as
Right,
I'm concerned, because and if you had that in the book,
Right. Oh, right.
Yes.
Right. But she says that perhaps if somebody explained it, even then at least you
You'd
can
have an
make
idea of
some
why.
sense
Yeah.
of why these rules exist. But you know, she
horrible.
talks about how they are just thrown at you,
they are. That's right.
and you just have to comply.
I mean, my late husband was from Sierra Leone. He wasn't Ghanaian.
Right.
And apparently what they do is the man's family will come and bath the widow. I'm like, try it. I'm like, you want to come to my house and make me strip off my clothes and y'all going to give me a bath? Try it and see. They'll be carrying you out in a body bag. I thought, try it. You know, so I don't care what your reasons are. I'm a grown woman. I am not a child whose voice, which even that's wrong, you can snatch. But as a grown woman, you're trying to tell me that I should have people come and wash my privates. It's ridiculous. But we allow it to
because I
happen.
lost my husband. Right.
There are women in certain parts of the world that when their husbands die, they have to shave their heads.
Right.
Or they must drink the water that is used to wash their dead husband. They must drink it.
Right.
And if they don't fall ill, then it means they didn't kill their husband.
Right.
If they do fall ill, it means that they're responsible for the demise of their husbands. What nonsense. You know, it's another form of gender-based violence that doesn't get enough airplay. It's not just rape, child abuse and domestic violence. Widowhood rights is part of that violence. And for as long as I have breath, I will continue to stand up and speak out against it
I'm
because it's
so
wrong.
happy that you talk about this. I think that as women, if we would, you know, be more aware of ourselves and our surroundings, we would realize that we conform more than we need to at a lot of stages in our lives.
Oh, yeah, we do.
So many of them. You know, you speak about your wedding and planning it yourself. You know, and all that, the little drama with the Vika and all
Yeah,
of
it was
that.
horrible.
And I remembered my own wedding. And I remembered how I couldn't wear my hair the way I wanted to. Because apparently, brides don't,
You can see the shock on my face. Like, what?
brides don't wear their hair like that. And I remember saying to me at the time, the wedding is not about you.
Someone actually said that to you?
Yes, the
So
wedding
who's
is
it
about
about?
you. It's about the family. So just do this for the family, you know, as a wedding and let it go. Of course, my family is not the type of family that dictates anything, but everybody else has an opinion.
Yeah. That's
And
true.
as women, we tend to conform, even through childbirth. And I'm happy that you bring up your experiences, you know, your
Yeah.
first experience with labor and your second experience with labor. And I was so happy the part where you tell the
midwife that she's an undertaker.
right
Yeah, she
that
was
you shouldn't be working with living
Don't
human beings.
work with living human beings. You need to work with dead people because she was horrible.
Because a lot of them are.
Yeah.
Well, not, let's say some of them are. And as a woman in labor, again, you're just expected
Yeah.
to let that happen to
Yeah.
you because that's what happens.
Yeah.
We are told stories of, you know, midwives beat teenage
Yes, it's
girls.
Yeah.
And nobody thinks
That's
it's
because no one's beating them back.
wrong.
That's why. Because no one's actually given birth, gotten up and slapped them back. That's why. A couple of mothers need to do that, and I'm telling you, that nonsense can
Right.
stop.
So as women, at a lot of stages in our lives, we sort of do not exist. It's like when you have a
very true.
child, somebody says, I remember when I had my son, I remember one woman saying to me, I hope you know that from this point on you don't exist.
I'd love someone to say that to me.
That now it's all about him.
And it's like, no, it's not. No, it's not.
But it seems like good wisdom, doesn't it? Like traditional wisdom.
No, I think it's foolishness even then, quite frankly. I can't. I would look at her and think, are you mad? Because I remember, like, some of my friends like, hey, so Dennis, you haven't changed. You're still the same, man. Even after you got married, you had children. You're still the same. And I'm looking at these people and I'm thinking, do I suddenly get this personality transplant just because I've given birth? All I did was give birth. It's no big deal. You know, but you see, we women are the biggest and greatest perpetrators of the violence and the issues against us. It's not the men, it's us women. We're the first to laugh at somebody because you are old and you haven't given birth, you don't have children, you don't have a husband. And I look at these misfits and I think, are you kidding me? So you laid down, you had sex and you reproduced. That's what giving birth is. It doesn't require any form of intelligence. A mad person could do that. So how then is that used to define a beautiful, intelligent, educated or non-educated woman? The fact that she hasn't had a child, and that's used as a basis to disrespect her. Or the fact that a woman is not 25 and at 40, I think there was some media thing going on with one other young idiot talking about this woman who, oh, but she's old and you're 40. I'm 49, darling. You ain't got nothing on me. But these are the things that we do. Yeah, I said it. These are the things that we do as women. It is unacceptable. We need to stop. Because every married woman, for example, I was speaking somewhere, I said, listen, every married woman has a 50% chance of being a widow. How about that for statistics? 50% chance. I just took the lead. You don't laugh at your fellow woman because she doesn't have children. You don't laugh at your fellow woman because she's not married. What is wrong with you? But then you have children. How about the fact that maybe your kids don't get married? How about that? You know, we need to stop this wickedness.
Right. Which is exactly what it is. It's wickedness. Really.
It is wickedness. It's really unkind. When you have women who are widowed, it is the other women who will go and shave her head. It's not the men. It's the other women who will connive and bitch and moan and say, she's the one that killed her husband. It's not the men. But they don't realise that what they're saying, they also have a 50% chance of being that widow. We need to stop it.
I mean, why don't we just live and leave some of these conventions and rules and, you know...
It's horrible.
Let me tell you something else that you said that I found interesting. You know, you were an advocate for marriage counsel. I found that shocking. I'll tell you why. Because, you know, I find that I would rather people find themselves by themselves. You know, but you don't agree, and I'm very curious to know why. You seem to think that marriage counselling was very helpful.
I'm not saying they shouldn't find themselves by themselves, but it's kind of like with my grief journey. I am a qualified life coach.
Right.
Not some of these people that call themselves in Ghana counselor. Ain't like no counselling. Not those kind of counsellors. I'm talking proper counselling where you actually pay money, study, and get a qualification and get accredited. Yeah, right, those ones.
Yeah.
But I mean, in all honesty, I think we have no respect and we have no regard for our emotional and mental health.
Right.
That's the bottom line. Again, it goes back to culture. Oh, it's only white people who get depressed. Haven't you heard that before? And yet half the people walking around Accra are depressed. You know, we need to stop do away with all these myths and these very ancient, opinions on things that aren't helpful to us. I'm not saying that you shouldn't find yourself. I'm saying that in that process, if you need a little help,
get it.
Take it.
Get it.
People think that it's weak people or stupid people or uneducated people that need... Look, do I look uneducated and stupid to you? But I employed the services of a counsellor.
Not.
I had to get a counsellor because I knew that I had reached as far as I could reach in being able to heal myself. I needed to be in that space of no judgment, of being heard uninterrupted. And that's what I do as a coach.
Right.
I create that space for my clients. Speak. What is on your heart? You come to me and I don't see you as a broken person or as somebody that needs fixing, regardless of what it is you're presenting.
Right.
Whether it's the fact that you've been a thief for 30 years or you've been a prostitute for 20 years, you're whole. But what is it that you would like to fix? And I will help you to be able to get there. So there's no judgment. And when you think about it, it's very rare for us as human beings to be in a place where there's, number one, no judgment, and number two, where you're being heard uninterrupted.
Right.
It's unheard of.
Right.
But the beauty of being in that space is when you are speaking and you're being heard uninterrupted, you hear yourself. And you find that the very, issues or problems or the solutions that you're looking for, you find them yourself. That is what I do for my clients. Right. I don't tell them what to do. I don't give them any advice.
Right.
I say to them, if you think I'm going to advise you,
wrong place.
It's the wrong place. I'm your blind spot.
Right.
I'm the one that will say, have you looked here? Look, can you see there's something poking up from under the carpet? What do you think that means? How does that serve you?
You know what deal is? You see, this book is too much for me now. If I had my way, we would unpack.
Yeah.
We would start from how you met, because there's so much to talk about there, you know, because you speak about sort of marriage happening to women, and you say, no, I don't, that's not my approach.
No.
If you are coming to me, be ready to have that serious conversations. I'm going to actually, because you asked him, you asked your husband, I want to get married.
Are you ready? If you're not ready.
Are you ready to get married? And I found that so interesting, because women don't do that. There seems to be some rule. Then you sit and wait.
You wait till
you have to be surprised, you know, by the whole proposal.
Yeah, you're surprised.
That's the whole point.
Rubbish man. That's the surprise. You know, don't be a spectator in your own life. If you know that you are a woman, that marriage is important to you, you want to be married, you want to have kids, whatever, say so. Don't be quiet and think, I'm not going to say anything in case he thinks I'm desperate. Then he's not ready for you, darling. That's all. Doesn't make him a bad person or a bad guy. It means he's not a mind reader, and therefore doesn't know that you don't mind dating him for the next 10 years and having a couple of kids and not having a ring on it. Right. You need to tell him, you know. But we're so afraid of the truth. That's why men always say women like liars. And I have to agree. Because if you say to him, I want to get married, or what have you, and he says, I'm not ready, or you think he's going to say he's not ready, and therefore you're not going to say it, then you are a willing participant in the whole deception.
Right.
Don't then call him a bastard because he's decided to leave you and go and marry somebody that was vocal and expressed what they wanted. Be intentional.
Right. Take charge of your life.
Your own life. I mean, gosh, it's yours. I mean, my brain works very differently. I really don't understand this whole, you know, I'm sitting there waiting, you know, I've been with this man, washing his dirty underpants for the last 10 years, and I'm hoping that one day I get lucky and he'll ask me to marry him. No. No. I have a daughter and I'm training her, you know.
Ask for what you want.
Ask for what you want.
Ask for what you want.
And don't be shamed, because there's a lot of shaming that goes on with women.
Right.
And if a woman wants a man that is financially secure, then she's tagged as being a gold digger.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Love don't pay the bills. Yeah? It's important. Finances are important. It's one of the top 3 reasons why people get divorced. Don't be embarrassed to discuss finances and say, look, and it is age specific, because I don't expect, you know, 2 21-year-olds to have made it.
Right.
You know, but I don't expect at my age, if a man were coming to approach me, I'm not being funny, and I'm asking, you know, how would you expect us to live? And you're telling me that you still live at home with your mum and dad, and that, you know, you're making it. You know who? Not me and you. And I refuse to be ashamed or embarrassed at the fact that my age, I'm not looking to hustle with you. You hustle on your own at that age. If you respect yourself, you have no business coming to ask for a woman's hand in marriage when you and I both know that you aren't there yet. That's why they said, don't hang your hat where you can't reach it. Cut your cloth according to your size. There's no shame in that.
Right.
You know, if you've got beer money, don't go looking for champagne. It's quite simple.
Very simple, actually.
Really simple.
Very, very simple.
You know? But then women are made to feel that if you have a standard, then, and I hear it a lot here. I was told that because I'm widowed, my best chance of dating is a married man. That I can't possibly have the audacity to think that I could be with somebody that was single, or the person would maybe be divorced. I'm like, is divorce a sickness? I thought divorce was single. We've got all this junk going on in our minds.
Right.
And you see, why these things are important is when, out of the blue, you're left widowed like myself, then you will know whether money is important or it's not important.
Let's talk about that. And here, insurance is a big deal.
Right.
You know, insurance plays such a huge, you know, in your life. Because I get, sorry if I should tell us, I mean, here you were on holiday with your family in Portugal.
Yep.
And then suddenly, out of the blue, you're taking a picture of your husband, and suddenly, you know, and you have faced the situation that nobody could ever have imagined.
If I didn't have insurance, that total bill for the 3 months that we were on holiday came to 80,000 euros. If I didn't have insurance, I don't think my late husband would have lasted as long as he did, because he was in one of the top hospitals in the whole of Portugal with one of the best surgeons. As black people, we take a lot for granted. And I explained this in the book as well, that, you know, it's partly because of religion, and it's about that balance between what's practical and what's spiritual.
Right.
As a woman, you can't go and ask your husband, oh, so what's happening? You know, have you written a will?
Right.
What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. We can't do that.
Right.
Because the moment you go and ask your husband about a will, it means you're planning to kill him.
Right.
And you see, these are some of the impractical, quite dangerous ways of thinking that is leaving a legacy of pain, of anguish, of confusion, and, you know, destruction.
Right.
When these men die interstate, and their families will just come and just take what they want and leave the wife and kids. And you see, what people don't realize is death brings out the true nature of people. That's when you will know whether you're family or you're not family. So there's practical things, and this is why I speak as candidly as I do about relationship and marriage. Right. Because unless you have that good marriage, where you can speak about different things, where you're friends, and, you know, you don't just get married because it's the thing that you're required to do.
Right.
It's only when you have that kind of connection that you can speak about these things. If you're not close to your husband, how are you able to speak about death? You can't. Especially if he's got his side chick, because he's probably thinking, you're going to try and kill me because you know I'm having an affair, because that's what a lot of men do. So you can't have one without the other.
Right.
You've got to be, you know, intentional and deliberate on the kind of marriage that you want to enjoy.
And have all the uncomfortable conversations early.
And they shouldn't even be uncomfortable.
I mean, death, will, things like that.
But it's so funny how culturally we approach it differently. Back in England, it's no big deal.
Right.
You have adverts on TV all the time. Oh, if you're over blah-de-blah-de-blah, and, you know, you don't want your children to suffer, why don't you have a plan to pay for your own funeral? I've paid for my own funeral. I don't want my kids to do it. But again, it's down to culture. Maybe see me. So you don't plan your life.
See, the thing is that we don't even like the conversation.
No.
You know, we don't even want to have the conversation. It's like, if I pretend it doesn't exist, then it doesn't exist.
Till it exists.
So then right. Till it actually exists and it's my life.
Pay for life insurance.
Right.
Pay for medical insurance. Life happens. Young people die. Old people die. People die through sickness. People die suddenly. People die in accidents. People die. People live to die. That is why every minute that passes, you're a minute closer to the day of your death. It sounds morbid, but it is a fact. So we have to come away from this thing of, oh, you know, if I close my eyes tight enough, it's all just going to go away. It's not going away. You've got kids. If you really love your spouse, you'll have this conversation. But again, because we don't marry, you know, with truth, there's so much mistrust. There are women who are married, they don't even know what their husbands earn.
Right.
They've got separate accounts here in different places. I mean, in England, I know amongst my parents, you know, age group and younger, you know, the man will be building a house back in Ghana, the wife doesn't know.
Right.
That to me is trash. That's not a marriage. That's not even a business arrangement. That's an inconvenience. It's horrible. So how then can you make provision in case one of you goes and leaves the other? Or make provision for your children? You can't. But that's what you've bought into. So when I see a lot of married women mouthing off, that's for me and the missus and all this rubbish, I'm thinking, your house is trash. Your house is actually trash and miserable. Even you don't want your own house. But you'll come and do shakara for people outside, pretending that you're all that and a bag of chips, and you're miserable as hell.
Hey.
Stop pretending. She's a divorcee. And so, you know, we're so afraid of these titles that we would rather sell our souls to the devil and die miserable than to answer to some of these titles. Why?
That's a very good question. Our time is almost up, Dillis, and, you know, I feel we haven't done justice to the book. Do you think we've done justice to the book?
Probably not.
I mean, there's so much more to talk about. You know, that like I'm saying, perhaps you should have actually unpacked. We should have taken it maybe 3 chapters at a time. You have to be back.
I'll be back.
You have to be back. Because these are conversations that I feel as women we should have.
We have to have them.
We have to have these conversations. We have to lay our cards on the table and normalize some of these things, because I feel it's the
Absolutely.
way. Let me involve our viewers in at this point. Vicky Akosia Ajiman Frempon says, it's sickening indeed. Why must we see one broken before we see their mourning? Ajwa Ama says, well done, Delis. Julia Roberts, ooh, really? She says, not this video. It's a must read. It will blow your mind. And that's,
so, Julia.
You know her.
Yes.
That's totally true. It really, truly does blow your mind. Really does blow your mind. Now, okay. So, just because the time is up and we have to go, what's the feedback been like so far? How has
Fantastic. It's been very, very good. I mean, it made it to Amazon's #1 spot hot new release list. That's how I became a best-selling author, because of this book. But what really has gladdened my heart is when the men read this book and go home and make changes. And I've had a few men contact me and say, I've just read your book. I'm taking life insurance. And I'm like, good on you. So those are the reasons why I thought this book was important and needed to be written, to ensure that somebody wouldn't go through, even if not financially, but wouldn't go through that pain and disrespect and disregard that was so impactful, even on my children, that could be prevented through a conversation. Right. And one of the things that I've said, and I'm hoping that, you know, I have time to maybe talk about this more, you know, another time, is where we have our traditional marriages, that we appoint someone in the family that in case something happens, let that person be the point of contact, as opposed to the whole world rushing to the widow. My crime was the fact that when my in-laws were calling me, I wasn't available to pick up the phone. And that was it. And it was hell from then on. And I'm thinking, who is bereaved and has their phone beside them to pick up, to discuss the joyful news of losing a husband? Who does that? So there's things I think that we can do, but we just need to think outside the box a little bit.
And those we grieve differently. Another woman is happy to share all the details of, you know, and I'm not. Can't you simply just respect
Well, this is why I say the way we mourn is as unique as our DNA.
Right.
What is good for somebody is not good for me. And, you know, for me, I just made sure that I was very clear on doing what was right for me. Only I knew what I was going through. So I wasn't prepared to conform just to tick someone else's box who wasn't feeling what I was feeling. I'm just like, you're not important right now. I'm just sorry, I just can't do it.
And I like the way you confront issues head on. Like when you got a text from the, you know, and you called this person, called a couple of times actually, and just went ahead and asked the questions. Okay, so you sent me this text message. Why?
Yeah.
And why did you say this? And why, you know, and I think that if we...
I'm actually going to send you, I'll send you because actually what she didn't realise was that I was recording our conversation. Yeah, I don't know if I put that in the book, but I recorded our conversation, and she went back to tell the family whatever she did, and I sent her a copy of it. And I said, just in case you're thinking of going back to tell them that you handled me.
Telltales. Yeah. Well, here you go.
Yeah.
Listen to what...
Yeah. And then I got accused of being a bully. I'm like, isn't that rich? But yeah.
Wow, wow. Okay. So do you agree with me we need to come back to this book?
No problem.
Because I'm thinking that up until this point, you know, we've sort of gone around it, but we haven't actually told the story, you know, because this is the story.
Yeah, it's the story.
Stages, you know, how you met, all of that.
And I felt it was important to take people on that journey for them to understand the impact of grief. Because I felt that if I just started with, my husband died,
No, I wouldn't have
I wanted people to know me, to know him, to know my children, to take them on that journey and imagine that they were away on holiday with their loved ones, and out of the blue, day 4, this happens. And you're there for three months, you know, being flown back to London in an air ambulance, straight into hospital. I wanted people to feel what it was that I had gone through, So that when I'm speaking about the importance of entering into a good marriage, of making sure that you can have certain conversations, of being able to protect yourself and challenging cultures and what have you, I wanted them to feel me, what it felt like to be me. And then having gone through that journey, some idiot would get up and say, you killed your husband. I wanted people to be able to go through that process so that they could walk in my shoes and feel the impact a little bit of what I had felt, and realize how ridiculous we are as human beings and how much we lack compassion and empathy and how much we need it and how we need to individually take responsibility of just being kind. It's nothing extraordinary. Just be kind. That's it.
Right. So, I mean, let me remind all of us about the book. This is the book, not this video. If I want a copy, where can I find one?
You can get it on Amazon.
Right.
I do have a few copies here in Accra, but I'm leaving very shortly. So I'm just trying to think. If people want to, actually, you can inbox me, Dilisilla, on Instagram, on Facebook, and I will tell you how.
Is there a number I can reach you on? If I want to call you.
There is, but I don't know the number of my house.
Oh dear.
I think somebody knows the number.
Okay.
I think.
Okay, so I mean, there is a WhatsApp line. You know, just send a message, and I'll forward the number to you. You know, if you need to. But like she's saying, Dilisilla is her name. I'll spell it for you: DILYSSILLAH. Find her on Facebook. She's very active on Facebook, right? So that you could, you know, get your hands. Because I need for everybody to get their hands on this book. We'll be coming back to it, and like I'm saying, next time we speak, I would actually have us do it. Tell the story the way you told it.
Sure.
Unpack it, you know, really well, and discuss all the stages, because there are nuggets everywhere.
Yes. You know, speak about the 5 stages of grief and, you know,
everywhere. Everywhere. Amazing stuff. Thank you for this book.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I like the way you write it. It's easy, you know. It's like I'm just talking to you.
I knew you were going to say that. Everyone says that. And my books are very much like this. If you know me personally, you'll hear my voice. And that actually is going to be an audio book. It's because I've been in Ghana, but yes, there is going to be an audio of the book as well.
Let me tell you something. My mum picked this book first. As soon as I took it to the house and I put it on the dining table, my mum took it.
Oh, did she?
Now she started reading it. So you know what that means.
Yeah.
So it took her a while to get it back. That tells you how engaging it is. Because as soon as you pick it up, you know, and you start, it's just like, oh, okay. Great stuff, amazing stuff. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you that, you know, you put yourself out there the way that you have, you know, bear it all out. And there's so much to learn from this. So much to learn. We go into love, we go into marriage, and you write about that, thinking it's going to be happily ever after. We never expect for things to go any other way than the way we planned it. You know, and it's just like you say, something to guide us and have us think about what if. What if? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for this.
Thanks for having me.
And we should do this more often.
We should indeed. Yeah, it means I need to write more books. Right?
Absolutely. I mean...
Well, maybe, you know, I may come back again and speak about Predator or Prince.
Absolutely. Why not? We'll talk about this again, though, first.
Yes.
And then we'll move on to that one. Because there's more.
Don't worry, I'll be like a resident here.
Why not? Why not? So, viewers, this is the book that we've been reviewing, Not This Widow. Not This Widow. A journey of grief, love, loss, strength, and survival, where Dilis speaks about her experiences of meeting someone, you know, falling in love, getting married, having, you know, raising a family with this person, going on holiday, and then starting to think about what happens, you know, and having to deal with a sick husband for months, having to deal with insurance companies, having to deal with hospitals, and all the unglamorous, unromantic things we never think about when we get married. Finally losing her husband, and then having to deal with the drama of losing your husband. You know, please, if you can, go grab this book. I strongly recommend it. And hopefully, Dilis, we will have a conversation again about this book. If you know me, you know how passionate I am about women and issues that affect us. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Dilis, for writing. Thank you for coming. And I will see you tomorrow. Have a lovely evening. Bye.